Om Sadashiva Samarambha Shankaracharya Madhyamam Asmadacharya Paryantam Vande Guru. Thank you, everyone, and thanks for taking your time in joining the session on what is spirituality, inquiry into the self. Last session, we had learned about why spirituality, why it is required, what is the benefit of spirituality, etc. And when it comes to what is spirituality, when I thought about how to take, there are multiple topics, and every single topic is very important. So I wanted to give sufficient time for each and every topic. So I just thought of taking one single topic of what is spirituality in today's session, which is regarding the self. Now, when it comes to the self, let's begin with the story. There is a washerman, and he was just washing the clothes using stones. And it is even common today in the villages of India. And when he was washing in the river bank, he found a new stone which is of different color. He just thought it's a normal stone, so he started washing with that stone. After a few days, he just got a doubt this might be something different. So he went to vegetable seller and showed that this is the stone I have got. Is there any use from this? Vegetable seller said, yeah, this is good for weighing machines, so I can give you maybe 100 rupees. Then, fortunately, he got a doubt and he didn't sell that stone to that vegetable vendor. Then he started moving to different merchants, showing that this is the stone I have got. Everyone were quoting different values and different uses of that stone. Finally, he met a diamond merchant who saw the stone and he said, "This is the most precious diamond I have ever seen. I can give you maybe 10 crores." And all of his problems have been solved, and he became happy. All these things are done. Now, why did I tell this story? Because this is the same thing that is happening in our daily life when it comes to self or I. If you ask someone who is a materialist, he says, this body is I, means self. If you ask a neuroscientist, he will say brain is self. If you ask some other people, they will say mind or like that. Different people will say different things about the self. So are they wrong? No, definitely not. Everyone is talking from different standpoint. From the gross world standpoint, of course, we are this body and mind. But there is little deeper thing that we have to understand about the self. And if you go to a Vedantic teacher and ask, who am I? Or what is the self? They will say different thing. And that's what we are going to study today in our session. Now, before we begin with the session, I wanted to introduce one topic of Mahavakyas. What is this Mahavakya? Mahavakya means a profound sentence. And Shankaracharya, who wrote commentaries on Advaita Vedanta, on all the Upanishads, Brahma Sutras, and Bhagavad Gita, has taken four Mahavakya from four different Veda: Rig Veda, Yajurveda, Samaveda, Atharva Veda. And it is not just there are only four profound sentences from all the Vedas. It is just representation of each Veda. And in the same way, in Samaveda, there is an Upanishad called Chandogya Upanishad. And in that Chandogya Upanishad, sixth chapter, there is one Mahavakya which is extremely important and highly regarded by Vedantic teachers, which is called Tattvamasi. What is this? What does this mean? Tattvamasi directly translates to thou art that or you are that. What is you? What is that? This is so paradoxical. So basically, it is talking about you and something that both are same. And today in our session, we talk about you. What is that? We are talking something regarding God or witness, whatever it is, we talk in our future sessions. And when we talk about you, which is that will be same. So it is about interchangeably we can use it. And this is called Tvam Pada Vichara. Tvam means you. So we discuss this in today's session with more of reasoning and logic. Now, there are multiple methodologies to understand this particular Twampada Vichara or you or self. These are called prakriyas in Sanskrit. Prakriya means methodologies, basically. And to name a few, there is a Karanakarya Viveka, which is explicit in Chandogya Upanishad. There is Panchakosha Viveka, which is in Taittiriya Upanishad. There is Avasthatraya Viveka, which is in Mandukya Upanishad. And today we are going to take Drisha Viveka. This Drisha Viveka is taken from a text called Drisha Viveka, which is attributed to Shankaracharya. And this text has 46 verses. This is just a small text only targeting the students who want to know what is the self, and it does not speak anything above or beyond. And this text, what does this mean? Drishya Viveka. Drik means seer, Drishya means see, Viveka means analysis. So, seer, seen, analysis. That's the basic translation of this particular methodology. So, we start understanding what is the seer, what is the seen, and how is this related, etc. in this today's session. First, we try to understand everything comes with one verse of Drishya Viveka. That is the summary verse of whole thing. I don't want to name it because it's in Sanskrit. Basically, what it says is whatever you see in the world is Drishya and eyes are Drik, which means basically, whenever I say whatever is seen or eyes, we have to extend it to all the sense organs and all the sense objects, which means smell, hear, touch, all those things. So when I say whatever you see, that means whatever you hear also, whatever you smell also, whatever you touch also. These are drishya, which means these are objects, and the subject is the sense organs, which is eyes, ears, tongue, etc. Ears, nose. Now, what is the subject and object? First, we try to understand what are we talking about? We are talking about self. And when I say whatever you see is not you, everyone knows that because I see that. That means that is different from me. And eyes are the subject for whatever I see, which means if I see some bottle here and this bottle is an object and I am the subject to that bottle. What is I? We will see that. But basically, that is an object and I am the subject. Now, we go a little deeper in this. Whenever we talk about subject and object generally cannot be same thing. It has to be different. Object is always other than me. Subject is always the I. And this is common in our language as well. And whenever we go a little deeper, we try to superimpose ourselves with even objects, even though we know it is not me or us. Example, if we take any mobile phone or laptop, whatever it is, with such care, we take care of it. And if something happens to that object, if something happens to the mobile phone, we get hurt or we suffer like anything because we superimpose ourselves into that. So if we just say that, okay, it is just an object, I can go another and buy another phone, then there is no suffering here, which means I is different from object, but we try to superimpose sometimes, not always. If we go a little deeper, we superimpose ourselves into our body more than anything. When I say body, hands, legs, these can be objectified. I can see my hand, I can touch my hand. In fact, even when we talk, we say this is my hand. I won't say I am hand. That will be kind of very humorous if I say I am this hand. We'd say my hand, which means we know that there is a difference between I and this hand, but still we superimpose ourselves so much that if something happens to the hand, I say I am hurt or I am under suffering. So this way we superimpose ourselves into body, or whatever it is we objectify in the outside universe. But we know that is not ourselves. So we'll try to think, what is ourselves? What is the real nature of self? When we go little deeper, what is that objectifies this eyes, ears, all these sense organs? When we think deeply, we understand that these can be known. Means I know that I am seeing. I know that I'm having a taste of something, which means there is some knower inside which can objectify these sense organs. And we call that mind because everything happens from thoughts. And these thoughts are the knower of all these things. Means whenever I say mind, there are multiple functions in mind: feelings, emotions, thoughts, and I, the ego, intellect, confusion, happiness, all these kind of things. Everything comes under this mind. And whenever I say this mind knows this sense object or this sense organs, we have to understand that it does not know as we know other subject. It is just directly experienceable that I know that I have eyes. I know that I have ears. All these kind of things. And also I know that I am seeing something. So everything happens from the mind. And this mind is the subject for the object of this particular sense organs. Now, okay, mind is the knower. So what next? Now we'll try to see what is even more deeper than mind. And this is more important because this is the place where many people can get misguided or can misunderstand the topic of self. Because most people think they are the mind. And okay, how are we going to differentiate this mind from the self? Now, think of it that, as I said, mind has different activities: feelings, thoughts, emotions. And whenever you think, you can easily say that I am thinking of something, which means that thought becomes the object, knower of thought becomes the subject. And some people might argue here, no, because mind can be subject and object. And many people agree to this. Mind can be subject and object both. But what if it becomes subject and object? What is the knower of that thought? What is the knower of that thought? Ultimately, it goes for infinite regression. So somewhere it has to stop that this is the ultimate knower. And that knower we are talking about, which is the witness. And what is this? Witness. And suddenly you're making big leap from what we know. Try to understand here. When we say that you have a thought and there is something that is lighting up that thought, because there is a state where there is no thought, but still you experience something. What is that state? Deep sleep state. You go for a deep sleep where mind is not at all active, but still after you wake up, you say that I had a good sleep or I had an experience of blankness. So how could you remember or how could you experience the blankness when there is no mind? Because there is something which is beyond mind, which is lighting up the mind. The same thing is mentioned in Kena Upanishad as well, where it says, Yan manasa namanute yena aharmano matam tadeva brahmatvam vidhi nedam medinam upasate. Which means, know that Brahman, which by which mind functions or mind thinks, without which mind does not think. So we are talking about something which light up the mind. And from Vedantic standpoint, we also know that mind is jada, which means it is inert in nature. And we are conscious. We are obviously Chetana. Everyone knows that I am conscious. I am not inert. So the inert cannot be I, and something that can be known cannot be I. Something which is subject, witness, is the I. That is what we are talking about here today. Okay, so we spoke about a lot of things, that body, mind, all these things. We are running out of options. What is this? What am I then? Now, if we are not a body, if we are not mind, or if we are not the external universe, obviously, as everyone agrees, first, before we ask, what am I, we have to understand that we are not this, then we go there. Because we superimpose ourselves into body and mind so much, whatever I say might not become very clear for you, even if I say that you are witnessing. So, first, we have to differentiate ourselves with this. Now, if you ask me, what am I some blankness, which Buddhism goes to Shunyavada, they call, which means after everything is negated, it is just blankness. That's what they call Shunya. We are not telling you that. You are the witness of these all these things, or something that lights up all these things. Consciousness. You're not the blankness. And how to explain this? Who is this consciousness then? When you ask that, I will explain this in a story which is easier to understand. And this story is mentioned in Panchadashi, which is written by um, Vidyaranya Swamiji. And in this Panchadashi, there is a story called 10th Man. And this story is often quoted by many Vedantic teachers as this is very profound and it explains a lot of things about the self and knowledge. Now, there is a man who had 10 disciples, and he sent all these 10 disciples to go to market and buy something and come back. And to go to market, they had to cross the river, and there were a lot of tides, all these things. So when they were crossing, uh, they got a doubt that someone might have drowned. And after they reached the other side of the bank of the river, they tried to count everyone: one, two, three, four, five, six, seven, eight, nine. And these people forget counting themselves. So they could count only nine. And first person said, only there are nine people, so one person is dead or one person is drowned. Then the second person said, no, no, you don't know how to count. Let me count. Again, one, two, three, four, five, six, seven, eight, nine. He can't get to 10th. Now everyone started crying because the 10th man is dead. How can we go in front of our guru and show our face? So everyone started crying. There was grief, all these kind of things. And this is what is happening in our life as well, which we explain in some time. Then there was one wise man came there, and he just saw these people crying. So he just thought that, let me ask what is happening there. So he asked them, and these people told, this is what happened. We started as 10 people, and now there are only 9 people. He might have counted there directly. And after he counted, he could find 10. So first he said, okay, let's get normal because the 10th man is alive. All these people got some kind of a hope. Okay, there is 10th man. Then they asked how, but we could only find 9. He said, okay, you count. Then they started counting: 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9. And after that, this wise man changed his hand to himself and said, you are the 10th, Dashamastvamasi. So this is the teaching that what we are trying to say. What you are trying to seek is yourself. Basically, whatever you see or objectify is changing, but you are the changeless. Whatever you see is inert. You are the conscious. You are the witness of everything. Like this is the same thing that is also explained in Panchakosha Viveka, as I mentioned. And in the Panchakosha Viveka, it goes from body, you're not the body, then prana, you're not the prana, which means breath or vital force. And then it goes to mind, then it goes to karta, which means doer, then it goes to enjoyer. How? Basically, whenever it says you are the 10th or dashamastvamasi, which means the knowledge happens directly that Whatever you are seeing as an object, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, all those are objects to you. You are the subject and you are miscounting yourself. Means you are not even counting yourself to be that. Because our mind is so much trained to see everything as an object. That's why every person, if you ask them, who are you? They say something about object only. They can't talk about subject because we are trained like that. They will say just body or mind, and all these are objects. How can you be that when you are the subject? So, every time it is always about, this is the mistake that we make. Object and subject distinction is not done. And in the Panchakosha Viveka, as I mentioned, the ultimately it goes to Karta and Bhokta, which is doer and enjoyer. What is this doer and enjoyer? Because until then, it is same as the Drisha Viveka. Doer means whatever I do, you think that I am the doer. Everything I do, because even the thoughts is doing something. So you are this doer. But again, as I already mentioned, there is deep sleep state when there is no doer, but you are still there. That means you cannot be doer. You are there, doer is not there. You cannot be the doer. Okay, then I am the enjoyer because you experience that blank state as well, and every single thing you experience. So basically, whenever we say that you are the experiencer of something, experienced is different. That means you are the enjoyer. Now, this is where ultimately you stop because after this, you cannot go further. You are the experiencer. But whenever you say experiencer, experiences are changing and experiencer change as well. So, changing and changeless, these are the distinction we have to make. We are changeless because the I feeling I have towards me is always same even though I am changing. Like even if you ask a 5-year-old kid, it has I feeling. And the same kid, if it is 20 years, lot of things changed in the body, mind, experiences, doership, everything. But still you ask, it is the same I. That means the I feeling or I-ness is always the same, but experiencer or everything else is changing, whatever we have about I, the misconceptions. So, whenever we say that you are not the experiencer, we mean that you cannot be experiencer because it is changing and we are unchanging. And whenever I say inert and chetana or jada, chetana, inert and sentient, everything you see is inert in nature. It cannot act on its own except ourselves. Even the other person, this is very um, kind of groundbreaking truth that I say he is conscious. But how do you know? You're just inferring because he behaves like you or he acts like you. He acts as if conscious, but you cannot see his consciousness. You cannot know is he sentient or something because if I put some humanoid robot which is exactly looking like a human, you cannot differentiate whether it's a human or robot, but it is insentient. How do you know? You ask the robot itself, are you sentient? It is not. It just does every function of a human being, but it is not sentient human being. But we are sentient. So all the things that we know, the qualities or the actions, everything is one aspect of human being that even can be replicated. But I-ness or self conscious thing cannot be replicated. So this is where the final step goes towards that you are the witness or you are the changeless I. Okay, you're talking so many things about changeless and witness, etc. What is this changeless I? That is what we are going to discuss in Tatpada, or that we spoke about in Mahavakya, where we talk about what is that, because that and you are same. So if we understand that, you understand that you are not this body, you are not this mind, both will become same. Okay, what is the benefit that I get? I know that I am not this body. I know I'm not this mind. What is the benefit that I get? Let's see. Basically, every single problem that we are having is either for this body or for this mind. There is no other problem that is beyond this body and mind. You can think. If you think of any relationship problem, that is for the mind. If you think there is money, mortgage, all those problems, body, physically, you can't take care of this body. Every single problem is for this body or mind. If you differentiate yourself from this body and mind, most of your problems directly vanish. When I say vanish, some people might ask, okay, so from tomorrow, because I understood this, I won't have any rent problems, mortgage problems, or any problems like that. No, we are not talking about that. We are not talking about solving a problem. We are just saying the fundamental idea of you having a problem is solved because you are not this. It is like in a movie, there is a beggar, but in reality, he is a millionaire. So if you ask that person, are you having a problem? He's just playing that role of a beggar. In the same way, you are different, but you're just playing a role of this body and mind. Maybe you're a professional in a company, or you're a husband of a wife, or wife of a husband, you're a father or mother. You have different roles, and this body and mind is just fulfilling those roles, but your real nature is not that. And that is why people who is acting in a movie can live happily. Otherwise, they will always have to suffer because there are 100 new problems that is there in the movie. They have relationship problems, they have money problems, all those things. But in reality, they don't have all those problems. It is just they are playing it. In the same way, if we distinguish ourselves from this body and mind, we don't have any problem because all the problems are connected to this body and mind. This is the major benefit that Vedanta gives. And this is direct here and now. It is not something after death or after a point of time. It is here and now. It is always. It is not today it starts happening. It is always you didn't had a problem because you were always the witness. I am not saying you will become witness after knowing this knowledge. You are the witness, you just know it. So this is the ultimate teaching of Vedanta, and this is the true nature of self, which is not you. And we just talked about this story of 10th man, and with that 10th man to our problems, step by step we'll go through and understand how it relates to us. First, there is a ignorance. These people don't know how to count. They are always seeing everything in object world. They don't know how to count the subject. The same thing we have with ourselves. We don't know what is subject. We always objectify ourselves. This is the basic and most fundamental problem of all. Because of this ignorance, two new problems arise, which is wheeling power, and another one is vikshepa, which is error. What is this wheeling power and error? Because of the ignorance, you see something in a different way and not the correct way, which means this started to think because I see everything in object, the tenth man should be in object. So I count 9 here, the 10 should be there. How can it be here? So this is the wheeling power. You see something in a different way because of other knowledge that you have. So this is the wheeling. Then comes error. Because of this, you made an error that the 10th person is not there. He is drowned. This is the major error, which means because of this error, you think of yourself as this body and mind, and you have hundreds of problems. And this is the major problem that we have, the error. How to get rid of this error? First happens paroksha jnana, which means indirect knowledge. The same thing happened with them when wise man comes and says, there is a 10th man. He is alive. This is an indirect knowledge. He just said the 10th man is alive, but you don't know it. That's the same thing that happens when I mention or any Vedantic teacher mentions that you are the witness. You just know it as an indirect knowledge. You cannot appreciate that knowledge until it becomes direct knowledge for yourself. What is indirect knowledge and what is direct knowledge? Indirect knowledge is something you believe in some other words. Like if I say this is a table and you don't know what is a table, that is indirect knowledge. If you know what is a table, then whether I say this is a table or not, you know it is a table. That is indirect. That is the direct knowledge, which means you know the nature of that. In the same way, if someone says that you are the witness, then it is indirect knowledge. If you get convinced that you are the witness logically and experientially, then that becomes the direct knowledge. What is experientially? I'm not talking about some experience or mystic. Experientially, in the sense, in Shruti, which means in Vedanta, there are three things which we give importance to whenever we try to understand it. First one is Shruti, which means the Vedantic study course. Second one is Yukti, which means logic. Whatever Vedanta says shouldn't be some kind of a story or fairy tale. It has to have a logic within it. You should not accept something just because it says. It should be logical. Third one has to be Anubhava, which means it has to correlate to my direct experience. I cannot say something about heaven because it is not correlating to my experience today. So that is why Vedanta always give importance to all three. Shruti, because there is no other means of knowledge to know this particular thing about self. Because every other means of knowledge talks about the objective world. The only means of knowledge that talks about the subjective uh, thing is the Vedanta. How? Because it is like a mirror. Like mirror does not give any new knowledge. It just shows what you are. In the same way, the Vedanta just shows what you are. So that's how you can get the direct knowledge from indirect knowledge. Now we go back to our steps. We mentioned that paroksha jnana, which is indirect knowledge, that wise man mentioning that this is the indirect knowledge, and then comes the direct knowledge. Here there is a subtle point. The wise man could have counted himself 10 and these people would have accepted because there are 10, but he didn't do that. He asked them to count themselves and he pointed themselves to subject. This is very important thing because if he counted again, they think objectively that there is something outside, 10 people outside. But when you start looking inwards, that's when you think subjective. So indirect knowledge is about you getting convinced about yourself. Not me saying, not another person saying. It is about you getting convinced logically, experientially. Yes, now today I understand that I am the witness. I am not the body, and this is indirect knowledge. Okay, after sorry, direct knowledge. Okay, sorry. After direct knowledge, what happens? Then shoka nivritti, which means what happened to them? All the grief is gone because the grief was that the 10th man is down. Now he is not. So that grief is gone. The same way, when you differentiate yourself from this body and mind, all the problems that are there for this body and mind are gone. What is the final step? Nirankusha Trupti, which means I'm not talking about an event. It is always eternal fulfillment. Because there was no event the 10th man got drowned and they saved him. He was always there. So there was no problem at all. In the same way, we are not talking here about that you having a problem today and tomorrow there won't be any problem after understanding this knowledge. It is about you never had a problem, just know that you never had a problem. So this is Nirankusha Trupti, eternal fulfillment. And that's what we are promising from Vedanta or spiritual study. Now, this is the overall session on Svampada Artha, which means what is you. There are multiple things here, and just to summarize what we went through. Firstly, we understood that the profound sentence Tattvamasi, which is extremely important, you are that. And we are trying to understand what is you here, that one word of you. And there are multiple methodologies to understand this you. And one of the methodologies we are using is Drishya Viveka, supported by Panchakosha Viveka. And Drishya Viveka means seer scene analysis. Panchakosha Viveka means five sheets of human body analysis. Now, we first understood seer and seen, which means whatever we see outside as an object, outside world, outside our sense organs, is an object, and we are the subject. And all this body also is an object because we can see, touch everything. Then we started understanding that all these sense organs can be objectified or known by the mind. So mind becomes the subject, and these sense organs become the object. And we have to be subject, so we cannot be the sense organs. Mind has multiple functionalities. It can be subject and object, but what we are talking about here today, we should not go to infinite regression. So there has to be ultimate knower of this. And that ultimate knower, and the same thing, what happens in deep sleep state, where the mind is inactive, but still you know the blankness. That is the witness. The same thing we explained from Panchakosha, where you are not the doer, you are not the enjoyer, because doer is not there in the deep sleep state. And even the enjoyer is changeless and changing, and we are changeless. And it is inert, and we are conscious. Ultimately, what is this witness? This is, as of what we understood, this is changeless, this is conscious I. What is the true nature of this? We will study in our further session. And for this session, we conclude. Hope you understood this, and we try to again go through the same things, and we try to analyze with our daily experience. How is this happening? What are we really? Am I really this body? You try to introspect yourself and try to understand and get the direct knowledge from the indirect knowledge that you have got. And with that direct knowledge, all your suffering, hopefully it goes one day. In fact, it does not go. You will understand that it was never there. Thank you for giving me this opportunity, and we'll get into Q&A session. We encourage every question, but highly appreciate if the question is related to this particular topic. Thank you so much. We conclude with our peace chant. Shanti, shanti, shanti.
Request all the participants to post your questions either in chat box or raise your hands so that we will enable you to unmute yourself and ask the question to the speaker. YouTube participants can ask the questions in the chat box. Pradeep sir, hope the option is given to unmute themselves or raise their hands.
Yes, yes. You can raise your hand or type your questions.
Pavan sir, Nirmala Babu has asked a question: how to experience the self?
Okay. Great question, because multiple people ask this question at one point or the another. How to experience the self? Who is the, when I say experience, you're talking about something that needs to be experienced and something that is the experiencer. And when you say experience the self becomes the object of experience. That is what we are trying to say. Self cannot be the object. The experiencer, this body and mind, cannot objectify the real self. That is impossible. Which means you cannot experience the self. You are the self. This is like asking, how can I see itself? It cannot, because eyes is the subject. Eyes cannot see itself. You can use a mirror, but even after using a mirror, you are seeing the mirror. You are not seeing the eyes. It may be reflection of your eyes, but you're not the eyes. You're not seeing the eyes. In the same way, when you say that how to experience the self, you cannot experience it, But every single experience is happening because of the self. It is like whatever you are experiencing is happening because of the self. It is like the electricity. We give the example. The fan, light, computer, everything runs because of the electricity. In the same way, all the experience that is happening in this world is because of that self consciousness. You cannot experience the self, but you are the self. Hope that answers the question.
Pavan sir, we have two people, one in YouTube and one here. I'll club the two questions and ask. Then, what is the conventional definition of soul? SOUL. People call, and Ambika from YouTube has asked that. And here, Srinivasan Sampath has asked. Then, how to is mind and Atma different?
Two questions which are related and also good questions. What is the conventional meaning of the soul? There are multiple meanings that is used for the soul. And in fact, the same thing that happens in Bhagavad Gita as well. When you say mind and Atma, whether they are different, again, the same thing. In Bhagavad Gita also, multiple places he uses this word called Atma or Mana for different things. How to understand it? First, let me tell you all the meanings. Then we say what is the ultimate meaning that you have to take, and it has to be contextual. Firstly, about soul. Basically, what is the conventional definition of soul is Jivatma. Jivatma means the mixture of this body and mind and the witness consciousness, which is actually functioning in this body in the form of this I, Pavan. This is Jivatma. This travels from birth to birth. After it dies, it takes another form, another body, and then it lives. After birth, it goes. So this cycle continues for this soul. This is the conventional meaning of soul or Jivatma. But soul can also be understood as the proper Atma. What is Atma? Whatever it is defined in Bhagavad Gita second chapter, which is it cannot be cut down, it does not have birth or death, it cannot be burnt, everything. So basically, the definition of witness, which we are going to study in detail, which is changeless, which is conscious, all these kind of things, is soul. That can also be understood. So, in general sense, whenever someone says soul, you should not be taking it as witness, but as jivatma. But only in Vedantic sentence and in some proportion, in some portions, if they call soul, then it is only about the witness. Generally, it is Jivatma, which is the mixture of this body mind and the consciousness. Now, coming to mind and Atma, whether they are different or not. It is different, but not the different from what we generally think of. Different means this mobile phone is different from laptop. We are not talking about this kind of a difference because these two are different objects. When I say mind is different from Atma, it is about mind is an object, Atma is a subject which cannot be objectified by any other thing. So, mind, when it becomes lit by the consciousness, it becomes Jivatma because mind is inert, consciousness is obviously sentient, and if both get mixed, thus Jivatma come into place. And we are that consciousness which is always sentient. We are not so this mind and consciousness is different, but not in objective angle, but consciousness is subject, mind is inert object. Hope that answers the question.
Here we have two questions in the chat box. When body goes through the pain and suffering and joy, does Atma or the self also goes through some transformation? Is the question asked by Jija Shrikant.
Okay, so this is common question everyone will have because we go through a lot of suffering and pain to body and mind. Whatever happens, we either go through pain or happiness to this body. And does this pain or happiness modify the Atma? The short answer is no, because Atma is changeless. How? Because whatever you see, the changing, happiness, sad, all these are functions of body and mind. The body and mind is, of course, changing, and it changes from every moment to moment. The last moment, what it was, this moment, it is not. But there is no real proof to say that consciousness is changing. We think consciousness might be modifying or changing because we see consciousness as an objective entity. Like, for example, I am changing because consciousness is changing. Again, you're thinking of I as mind or body. We are just saying this because we think consciousness is in mind or body. It is not inside mind or it is not inside body. It is the witness of body and mind, which is changeless. This is like always we think of dream example. There are a lot of suffering, happiness that happens in dream. When I ask, does that mean you get changed from dream? No, you are unchanged. It is just whatever is happening inside the dream affects that inside person. It does not affect the real I who is sleeping. The same way, whatever problems and happiness that happens to this body and mind, it cannot change the real I, the witness.
Thank you. The next question is from Lata Rao. What method we can adopt or how we can try to know that self is different from body and mind?
Okay. So basically, this question is regarding how to know it. And one of the method that I mentioned is Drisha Viveka, which we studied in this class. The major way to understand this is through reasoning and experience. You think of it. You keep a water bottle in front of you. Am I this? Or is this different from me? You immediately say it is different from me. Why? Because this is an object of your senses. So, if you say that it is an object of your senses, you say it is different. But this hand is also an object, but you don't think so. Because if something happens to this hand, means if I cut this hand, you feel the suffering. This is the major reason why people think that this body and I are same. How to understand this? Basically, it is about how much you superimpose yourself into another object. This happens even with the external object, but we don't actually recognize it. Take an example that you are watching a movie and your favorite characters of maybe say uh, hero or heroine, whatever it is, lead actor or lead actress dies in that movie, and you get that suffering. You feel pain. Are you that? No. But while watching that movie for 2.5 hours or 3 hours, you have superimposed yourself into that character so much that if something happens to that character, you feel it is happening to you. So, in the same way, by logic, you try to understand that you are just superimposing yourself into this body and mind so that you're not this. At the overall level, what I'm saying is just one step towards overall answer to this question. The major steps, which we mentioned in our previous session as well, Shravana, Manana, Nididhyasana. Shravana means listening to the teachings, which I mentioned as Shruti. Manana means understanding the teaching, asking doubts, which is Yukti through logic. Nididhyasana means experientially getting it, which is Anubhava. It has to be your daily experience. It shouldn't be that I'm talking about some cock and bull story. So you understand this by Shravana, Manana, Nididhyasana, which is Shruti, Yukti, Anubhava, which means consistently you have to study the scriptures. While studying, you have to start getting doubts, ask the doubts, and then try to understand with logic that yes, this is correct. Then you have to correlate to your experience. Hope that answers the question.
Arvind sir has asked an interesting question. Sir, if I'm satisfied in this world as I am now, why do I need Vedanta?
The short answer is you're satisfied, you're saying today. But if some extremely bad situation happens, will you be satisfied? 99% of people say no. The first answer is not everyone will be completely happy with this world or satisfied with this world. In fact, they might be satisfied with that phase of life, but that phase will never stay forever. Like the general things we say that everyone is scared of death. Fear of death is the biggest thing that everyone has. And fear of old age is second biggest thing everyone has. Fear of illness is the third biggest thing everyone has. Because as you age towards death, you start getting all this fear, anxiety, problems, where you think that I am not satisfied with this. Because no person can be happy with so many sorrows. And for this, Vedanta gives the final result. This is the basic answer for worldly things. What is the ultimate answer? You're just saying that I am a part of the movie. I am just a character in the movie. I am fine with this. Why should I go back to real life? Movie has to end, which means you have to know you are not the real person in the movie. It is like a king takes a part in the movie of a in a part of beggar, means he takes the role of a beggar, and he says, I am fine with the lifestyle of beggar. I will stay like this. No, he is the king. He has to get out of that movie and know himself to be the king. The same thing you have to do here. Even though you might be satisfied with this, knowing true nature is a basic idea of Vedantic, which means you have to know yourself. It is not that I know something wrong and I am fine with it. Ignorance is bliss is not the answer. Some or the other day, there is a requirement that you have to know yourself, but why not today? That is the agenda of Vedanta.
Exactly the same thing. Even Arjuna thought himself to be knowing everything, but when the crisis came, he had to face the realities and he broke down, and the requirement of the self knowledge came there. Pavan sir, one more question from Keshwamurthy. He's asking a question saying, sometimes the death of the kith and kin feels so much to each of us. So where do we place this suffering? Is it in mind? How? What? Where do we account this suffering? Is the question.
Great. This is actually uh, involving both mind and body because they're kith and kin for your body. He may be your son, father, daughter, or it may be a close relative. But this relationship is derived out of this body. Second, because of their closeness towards you, closeness comes from the mind. Their death gives you suffering. So, body and mind both are linked to them, which means you are having a thought that whatever is their life is also part of yours, and whatever is your life is also part of theirs. So, if they are gone, you feel incomplete because again, this incompleteness is coming when you are superimposing yourself into this body and mind because both are involved here. When you say that you're not the body and mind, you are the witness, they are not your relative. Of course, I'm not saying that you have to be hard like a stone when someone dies. You're like, who cares? This body mind has to react, but inside you have to know that it is not affecting me. You can be happy, you can be sad, but that sadness and happiness should not affect you or bind you in a way. That means if someone dies, you can cry. If someone dies, you can show the sorrow, but internally you have to know this is not affecting me because this body and mind and they are object of me for nowhere related to me. I am ever changeless consciousness. And this is very important. In fact, while doing the sadhana, my guru always uses this uh, FIR word is very important. Whenever you go through any suffering or anger, anxiety, anything, you have to think in a sadhana, FIR means frequency, impact, and what is the uh,
Recovery
response,
time. Recovery time.
recovery, recovery time, which means how frequently are you getting sorrow or happy feeling or whatever that kind of thing. How much is this impacting you, and how much time are you taking to recover from it? While doing sadhana, if today you're saying that every single day you have one or the other thing for this, and after 1 year you say that maybe once a week I get this kind of feeling, that's really good improvement. In the same way, if you keep going towards this path, at one point of time you say that it doesn't affect me at all. So that is the place where we are talking about. You are the witness. When you understand it completely, no point of time it affects. Hope that answers.
Rahul is asking a question on YouTube. He's asking, you said the whole world is changing, eternally changing. Once I know the reality of the self, so will the changing world disappear? And what happens to the world, the changing world? Is the question asked by Rahul.
Great question. Once or the other time, this question has to come for a Vedantic student. What happens to the world after we understand ourselves? Nothing happens. Because this is like you're watching a movie and you understand it is the screen that I am watching and the characters there are unreal. So after you know it, what happens to the movie? Nothing happens. It just goes on. You just know it and you see it as a play or as a entertainment. The same way, world will go on as it is. World is changing, eternally changing. You are changes, you just be the witness of it. So, what happens to this body and mind? It will have all the problems. It will have the happiness. There will be ups and downs for this body and mind. But those ups and downs will not affect you because it again becomes objective of your knowledge. So, when you understand you are the witness, the world goes as is, your body and mind goes as is, but there might be some betterment to your body mind that it doesn't get affected very easily because it will be trained, all those kind of things. That is what we call nididhyasana, how you can train your mind so that you don't get affected much by whatever happens in the world, but nothing changes. It just goes as is.
One more question from the YouTube is, yeah, so let me ask my own question. As the session title was What is Spirituality? The Vedantic Inquiry into the Self. Can you give a spectrum of the other spiritual disciplines? Because most of us are are in the belief that we are in the spiritual journey. So can you just throw light on the different aspects of spirituality apart from the Vedantic self-inquiry?
Sure. So many people think a lot of things as spirituality. It may be bhakti, it may be karma yoga, or it may be meditations, or even service to people. All these kind of things people think as spirituality. Actual spirituality means, as we had discussed in our previous session, and again I'm repeating, is that whatever is the knowledge of the self is spirituality. But are these not spiritual practices? No, these are supportive to spiritual practices, which means even if you do japa or the devotion to Lord, puja, meditation, all the service to other people, all these kind of things help you to purify your mind so that you can understand the knowledge of self better. Also, they have their own benefit as your mind will be much peaceful and it won't get reacted to all the things that is happening in the world. You'll have better life. It will have much more serene in it, so that all these kind of benefits are there for devotion, meditation, all these kind of things. But from spiritual point of view, these will help your mind to have the clarity to get the actual self knowledge that we are teaching here. So all these spiritual practices are supportive to the actual Vedantic study. So you should not leave out all those and just do this, but use it as a supportive or complementary methods to understand this self.
Actually, the time is up, but there's one question in the chat box by Nirmala. Does Vedanta teach us to how to practice detachment? Is the question.
Vedanta directly doesn't teach how to practice detachment, but it says you should have a detachment. And people who study Vedanta give multiple methodologies to have that detachment. And one of the major methodology is to understand why are you attached. All this attachment comes because of self. Means some or the other benefit is there attaching to that. And that benefit is what is seeking. But when you understand that you are seeking yourself, all this benefit that uh, the object gives is nothing but just a modification of happiness, but you are the real witness of these happiness, then automatically some detachment happens. This is through knowledge, but there are multiple methods. One through yoga. Yoga means meditation. You keep meditating that I am not this, I am not attached to this, all these kind of superimposing or self-affirming yourself that you are not this. And constant doing it, you'll get detached. Another one, bhakti, which means rooting your attachment to something greater than attaching to some other object. Like, for example, if you're attaching yourself to your children or wife or husband or anything like that, you root that love towards God, which means whatever love I have, instead of showing it to my husband, children, I show it to God. That doesn't mean I don't show love to children or something. It is just that my first priority becomes God. When that root happens, automatically some detachment starts. Third method is service. When you do everything in the form of service, the selfishness get deteriorated and attachment goes down. That is karma yoga. Finally, jnana yoga, which I mentioned, by understanding that whatever is happening is just object to your knowledge and you are the witness. That witness stance will give you that strength to detach from everything. Hope that answers the question.
I remember a quote by Swami Saropriyananda saying, detachment becomes a practice to know that I am never attached, unattached. So, detachment through the Karma Yoga, Bhakti, Upasana, Yoga, everything becomes a practice. But finally, you get to know Asangoham, Asangoham means I am never attached. That is the goal of the Vedantic inquiry. Pradeep sir, is there any last question or can we close it? Last question from Medha Patwanan. I think you have already answered. You can just give it. If anyone has, self-realization, will he be able to do his day-to-day activities regularly, or he will be immersed in himself?
Well, so basically, realizing the self again, how does it impact the day to day activities? As I already mentioned, it doesn't. This body mind keeps doing what it is doing. And in fact, it does everything better. That's what my guru also says. If you know Vedanta, you will not go away from the world, but you will do things better in the world. Because you understand that there is no selfish thought that I want this. When you don't have that selfish thought, I want this, you can do every action better. So your day-to-day activities will get better if you understand who you are. But when I say you're, again, you should not get confused that you are doing, but this body mind keeps doing it. You, at the very understanding level, know that this body mind is just a means, but you are not that. It is like I use the phone to do some activities, but I am not the phone. In the same way, I use this body mind for some day to day activities, and you have to do it. In fact, you should not run away from the day to day responsibilities, and you will do it better.
Lakshmi is asking a question on YouTube. Okay. Can I ask the last question, Pawan?
Yeah, sure.
Is Vedanta the only way to spirituality? Because that is the topic that we have taken. I thought this could be the ending question. Is Vedanta the only way to spirituality?
Great question. And short answer is yes. Because the problem what we have is ignorance. When the ignorance is the problem, knowledge has to be the solution. There cannot be different solution for this particular problem. Like if the problem is wandering of the mind, then yoga is the solution. That's what even Yoga Sutra says. Chitta vritti nirodha, which means it cessations the mind. Whatever is happening in the mind, it cessates. In the same way, whenever your problem is ignorance, that you don't know your real nature, that's why everything is happening, then it has to be knowledge. And knowledge comes through Vedantic study. So the answer to this question is yes, Vedanta is the only way to spirituality. But other ways are supportive to this one way to spirituality. When I say what is spirituality or spirituality, it is always about studying the Vedanta. And the method, as I mentioned, Shravana, Manana, Nididhyasana. Shravana, which is consistent, systematic study of scriptures. Manana, through reasoning and logic, understanding the scriptures. Nididhyasana, having it connected to our experiential day to day practices.
Yes, as Pavan sir mentioned, all others are a support to the grand conclusion of knowing the self. So, with that, uh, we are into the closing remarks. Thank you, Pavan sir, for that insightful and thought provoking session. I'm sure all of us have gained a deeper understanding of what spirituality is, what we are, and importance of self-inquiry through a methodical approach. So, thank you very much, Pavan sir, for giving such an insightful session.
Thank
Before
you
we
so much.
conclude, a few announcements. Few announcements. The WhatsApp group will be open until 10 p.m. today. So we request you to share your feedback, ask questions, provide suggestions regarding the session. Don't send any forwards, only related to the session. If you have not already done, so please subscribe to our YouTube channel, Learn Vedanta, and start spreading the message of Vedantic wisdom to your friends and family members. We request you not to exit from the WhatsApp group you are already in because it serves as a medium for updates regarding future sessions, courses, and other Learn Vedanta initiatives. We also have a blogspot called Learn Vedanta Online Blogspot. You can just check there to see the articles and videos about the same thing. Finally, we offer our humble gratitude to the whole Guru Parampara, whose timeless wisdom continues since the time immemorial, the Upanishadic times to the present day. Our sincere thanks to all those gurus who have guided us to know the reality of ourselves. And our sincere thanks to Pavan Nataraj for sharing his valuable time and insights with us, and to each one of you for your enthusiastic participation and thoughtful engagement. Because your questions made all of us think to know the real essence of spirituality and the self. I would also encourage everyone to revisit this session and listen again and again because these subjects require repeated listening. That's what it was mentioned, Shravana. And connect it to yourself, which is Manana. Finally, abide in the nature of your own self, which is Nididhyasana. So, with that, we conclude today's session and hopefully we come up with a new topic in the days to come.